welcome back to the class, everyone. The Order 66 raid is officially live in-game, and while we knew that even before it was live that a lot of the better teams were going to be brand new ones or ones that aren't even released yet, there are a few teams out there that are putting up scores despite not being behind a paywall. And those are exactly the teams I want to talk about in today's video. I just got off of a 5-hour stream with the raid server, so shout out to them, and we were able to test a number of combinations between characters as well as modding to try to find the best min-max solution for a free-to-play player that doesn't necessarily have access to a lot of the newer characters like Jedi Master Mace Windu or the clones under Tarkin. Now, that being said, this is not meant to be like an in-depth walkthrough guide on how to use all these 5 teams. This video is much more focused on which teams than it is how to use them. I would like to get videos out in the next coming days about what the actual how-to works as far as modding and overall strategy goes, but for now, we're just trying to get a list out there for things to be run so that people can get a good score on the board. The first team we want to talk about is actually not a team at all, but rather just one unit, and that is Enus Nest. Enus Nest, the key to getting her maxing out the tier 0 for 300,000 actually lies in her modding of her arrow for crit avoidance. Now, I did try some testing in the raid on the later tiers and ultimately just couldn't get anywhere even by adding in more characters to the team because ultimately Lord Vader was getting to his executability too quickly. And one of the really nice things about tier 0 is that there's no added crit chance in it for the enemies. You can kind of see that here. There's no additional effects. Whereas as soon as you start on tier 1, the enemies get 70% critical chance. The reason why that's important and the reason why Enus Nest wants to have that crit avoidance arrow that I mentioned earlier is because when you dig into the raid mechanics, you'll see that whenever a dark side clone trooper ally scores a critical hit, Lord Vader loses 1 stack of execute, which is essentially his version of enrage. So by doing tier 0 with just Nest and putting on that crit avoidance arrow, you are able to avoid enough crits in order to take out all the clones and be able to go all the way to the end and getting that max score of 300,000 as seen in the screenshot below. Again, this was taken from the stream that we did earlier where Nest was able to max that. You could try to add in extra characters, but I ultimately don't think that it'll be worth it because the more characters you add in, the more characters you are going to allow the other clone troopers to hit with an AoE, and if they crit them, that enrage or execute counter is going to go down even faster. Now, you are going to be sacrificing about 10 stacks of execute by undersizing it all, but ultimately that's going to be worth it because the rest of the team members you would put on there wouldn't actually be doing much of anything at all. So that is the first team, Enus Nest. I don't know if it worked below Relic 7. That's what I was working with, but there that is. Next up is actually going to be a Junk Jedi Luminar team. And if you're wondering, hey Calvin, why in the world did you pick those 5 characters? The reason is because we're going to talk later about a Keller Beck team that really wants to not only have the more premium Jedi, but wants to have the Jedi that you probably already took to Relic 7 or Relic 8 because they're a requirement for Galactic Legend. So pretty much after you use all those characters up, this is what you're left with. And the team isn't very good, but because again, at tier 0, they essentially have no added bonuses into their kit, the Luminar team can just take it out, and I don't quite frankly think it's very hard. Again, as you saw, most of my team is Relic 5. I think you could probably do it below that. When I actually did that run for the lowest tier with Luminar, a lot of my mods were stripped off because I was using them on other characters, and I was still able to put that up pretty easily. That being said, I did try to completely god mod the team and try for the next tier up, the tier 1 that I believe gives 450,000, and they just couldn't cut it. They could not get over the initial hump of both Fox as well as Oppo. So I think this is really where they're gated until we can allocate some of the other Jedi to them once we get things like Mace Windu up. Now, one additional thing that I do want to add on to this is that if you're trying to figure out which Jedi you should be using from your stockpile, we do want to have ones in there that have different buffs. One of the modifiers for the raid is that once Jedi get 3 different buffs on themselves, at the end of a turn, they will be given additional offense. You can see that in the additional info here under Jedi Vanguard, where it says whenever any turn ends, if a Jedi Vanguard has 3 or more buffs, they gain 5% offense stacking for the rest of the encounter. So, like this team you saw that I had earlier, we had Qui-Gon Jinn on there for offense up, we had Barriss up there for defense up, of course Luminar has her healing over times, and then Plo Koon, or Kit Fisto, sorry, has potency up. So getting enough different buffs on there for them to be able to build offense will be key to being able to take down the enemy. Now, next up, and this is cheating just a little bit, but we're going to have Tarkin and Oppo. Now, Oppo has been free-to-play farmable for a few weeks now, but not enough for most people to, have him finished. I did accelerate him quite a bit, so I had him, and they were actually able to put up a good score, just the two of them alone, at 600,000. Now, if you're saying, Calvin, I don't have that, I only have Tarkin because he was required for Lord Vader or C, Tarkin actually still does just fine at that tier level 0, just like the Luminar and Enus Nest team did. Quite frankly, this was not nuanced at all. I literally just went in every single time and used the AoE and completely cleared out the wave. This is kind of nice too because CX2 just went farmable, so what I'm anticipating is that with every single clone trooper that gets added to this, they will be able to go for higher and higher scores, able to max out, respective tiers. So overall, not 100% farmable yet for the Tarkin team, but the more clones we get added, I think they will be able to do better and better, at least starting off with that baseline of 300,000. Now, the first real team that we're actually going to look at is going to be the Bad Batch squad. They've been farmable for a minute now, and then we also had that accelerated bonus drop event, so I just finished them today, literally the day of the raid. I was able to put everything together. And they do okay at Relic 5. Also, I should say this, at the time of recording this, and probably the time of this actually releasing tomorrow morning, they do appear to be slightly bugged, where there's this very specific mark mechanic in the raid, where every single time they're marked, they're supposed to dispel it, except the very last tier where everyone's Relic 9. Even mine at Relic 5, that interaction is happening, so this might actually get a little bit harder. But with that being said, I was actually not able to beat the Relic 5 tier consistently until I took both Crosshair and Batcher up to Relic 7. I originally tested at Relic 5, and I just did not have the oomph to be able to get through the initial waves with them there. Now, that being said, I don't know if I was entirely modded correctly, so it might be worth trying at R5 just to see if you can get this 1.2 million score on the board with them at Relic 5. I'm really weary, and I don't think this is a good idea, about taking them up to Relic 7 or Relic 8 because they don't get really any additional bonuses for going up. And if they already struggle at the Relic 5 level, I imagine these two are going to become very, very difficult. Now, all that being said, they do get quite the buff at Relic 9. I will not be taking my Bad Batch up to Relic 9, as great as they are in PvP, at least from an offensive and 5v5 perspective. I just can't spare 5 R9s for a faction that isn't entirely Gungans. So I will probably be leaving mine, at least at the Relic 5 limiter for a while, until we get more news that they can actually perform at Relic 7 or Relic 8 without needing those modifiers that don't really exist for them yet. So overall, Bad Batches, that's kind of where they land. Again, I guess I'll go ahead and show the screenshot showing that we were able to max out that Relic 5 score. Again, I had to have Relic 7 Batcher and Crosshair for this. It might be doable before that, but I was really struggling, so I just went ahead and pulled the trigger, especially because they're attackers. That's nice in PvP too. Now, the last team, and really the best team that we need to talk about when it comes to overall free-to-play, is going to be Keller Beck. Keller Beck was able to put up really good numbers, both with and without Jocasta. You can see here that while my characters are not Relic 5, they were able to max the Relic 5 tier without Jocasta Nu, just kind of this old squad here. In addition to that, if you do add Jocasta into the squad, they're actually able to max the level above it at Relic 7, which is also the Relic level that most of them are at. The reason why we really wanted to make this squad work is because most of these characters in here are requirements already at high Relic levels. Keller Beck is required at Relic 7 for Bo-Katan Mandalore. Shaak Ti is required at Relic 7 for Jedi Master Kenobi. Ayla is not required at Relic 7 for Jedi Master Kenobi, but she is required at Relic 3, so that's really the one premium price you have to pay. Barriss Offee, we actually used her at the Relic 5 level, so again, that was already there. And then Plo Koon is required at Relic 8 for Ahsoka. So while this might not be the best squad to overall get the job done, it can do it, and you hopefully already have the squad built up from other endeavors. Now, if you do have the Conquest character Jocasta Nu, she's able to perform really well in here, taking Barris's spot. I will say that typically one of these characters, and this is pretty true for a lot of these teams actually, one of these characters is going to die in the opening, so having some characters that don't exactly pull that much weight like Plo Koon isn't the biggest deal in the world, although you might have to try for the right RNG to actually, for him to actually be the one to die and not a more important character like Jocasta or Keller Beck. Now, I will say one more option out there that, again, I myself will not be doing, but everyone should be aware of. Keller Beck, Jocasta Nu, and Ayla, the three of them seem to be able to max scores at both the Relic 8 and the Relic 9 level. I do not have them there, so I don't have the screenshots to show with my characters, but there are very specific modifiers, and we saw this on stream, that help them get there. When we open up the modifiers all the way on the Relic 8 tier, we'll see two very important things. Number one, the hero bonus for Jocasta. Whenever she's a special ability, Jedi Vanguard allies gain critical hit immunity for 2 turns. This is a big deal because critical hit immunity is what stops Lord Vader from getting execute because the clone troopers have to be getting crits. In addition to that, whenever a Jedi Vanguard defeats an enemy, add a stack of execute to Lord Vader. So the combination of these two things is really what allows you to get that max score at the Relic 8 level. So that being said, if you do have the three of them at Relic 7 like I do, they're just not going to be able to do this. They're going to need the extra help from those other characters that we had in there. You're going to need Plo Koon to be in there to be able to eat the death, as well as having Shaak Ti to help with the offense up and a variety of other things. So those are going to be the 5 teams for the raid that are free to play. I realize it's not the most encouraging thing in the world, but at the same time, we have to have a starting point, and as more of the Lord Vader clones become farmable, and eventually Mace Windu when he comes back, this should get a little bit easier. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and as always, stay awesome.